first year in one word would be challenging.
Interesting.
Eye-opening.
Character building.
My greatest challenge with classroom management was definitely consistency. During the beginning of the year, I thought I knew what I wanted to do. Like, I had this huge plan and it seemed like it was going to work really well. But what I found really quickly was that it was hard to be consistent. If someone was eating in the classroom and I'd say, put it away, but then the next day I would forget.
Definitely my greatest challenge was being consistent. I was very inconsistent my first year and probably the first few years after that. It was really easy to look at my students and see their smiling faces, and when they asked for something like, "Can we read with our shoes off?" I'd be like, "Sure." And then the next day it became, shoes off and a snack, and then can we bring blankets from home? And then I realized that it had kind of spiraled. And so probably the biggest lesson was just that I need to stick with my consistent rules from the beginning.
My greatest challenge of classroom management was I wasn't prepared for the fighting that happened in the classroom.
My greatest challenge was following through on anything that I said to the students my first year. So not making empty threats for them for consequences, and knowing that if I said I was going to do something, that I had to follow through.
These kids need structure and they need discipline, and I had to kind of take on the role of a disciplinarian when that's not in my nature automatically.
To work in partnerships or groups. I thought that once I assigned them a partner or I assigned them to the group that was considered fun work and that they would enjoy it. I didn't expect for them to not get along.
The biggest unexpected obstacles for me were the students I wasn't prepared for. I felt really prepared to deal with the general ed population, but I wasn't prepared as much for dealing with the SPED students in my classroom, students with emotional issues or behavioral disorders where they had push-in aides or inclusion teachers with them, but I didn't always know the background story, and so I didn't know what their triggers were or how to communicate best with them.
Day of school, looking back even just a few months down the road, was a disaster.
So it was very challenging.
I was extremely nervous. I didn't even need coffee in the morning. I couldn't sleep the night before. I was almost on the edge of anxiety. And I don't think I enjoyed my first day at all because I was too nervous. And now I look forward to the first day. Anything we do that first week, we go over the rules over and over and over again. So if we have to go out to the hallway, we talk about the rules before we even go out to the hallway.
Actually dealing with behavior problems, I was kind of a little hesitant to confront kids if I didn't see them do something like break a marker and smear it all over the floor, or take a pair of scissors and go to town. But what I found halfway through the year is if 3 kids are coming up and telling you that this kid over there wiped his boogers on the wall, then he probably did, and you have to kind of confront it right then and there.
First 2 months that I took my kindergartners to the computer lab, and the tears and the crying that continued because they couldn't log on and they couldn't wait for me to come around to help them log on. And by the time that I got all the children logged on and all the tears dried up, then we had to log off. So that created more frustration and tears as I had to go around and help them shut down and log off the right way.
Anytime I see a student show excitement, show engagement, or respond, engage in a discussion, or light up, to me that's a successful lesson. So that makes me feel proud as a teacher.
get the parents on my side and the students on my side early on, whether that means like having lunch with them or spending that extra time to get to know them as students and people.
Did home visits, and I met with the families and got to meet the families, see the home, and talk with the kids before coming into the school setting.
One piece of advice that I got from my department head my first year was the one thing that stuck with me, and that was to only cry 3 times. So that's what I would pass on, because I made it a goal to never cry, because I didn't know if that was the day that was worth it, if that was the day that was worth the emotional breakdown. So I kept waiting on it, and I ended up realizing that all of the things that stressed me out were really small, and I could make it through the next day, and it wasn't worth being that upset over until I got to a better day.
If I had one piece of advice to give to a first-year teacher, I would tell them it gets easier and not to give up. The second year is always better than the first year.
Don't give up. Be flexible. I think that if you are struggling, it's normal. Like, I thought halfway through the year I wouldn't make it the whole year through without breaking down and questioning my decisions, but honestly, it gets better every week, and I already have so many ideas moving forward that I'm ready to implement next year that I think are going to start me off on the right foot, and I couldn't be more happy to enter my second year teaching.